Imagine a world you think you know. A world filled with heroes who stand for hope, truth, justice. Now take that world and shatter it. Take every certainty, every belief you held about these iconic figures and twist it into something dark, something unrecognizable. This is the world of injustice. This universe poses a chilling question. What is the breaking point of a god? For Superman, the Man of Steel, that line was crossed on the worst day of his life. It all began with a laugh. The Joker had grown tired of his long, predictable dance with Batman. He wanted something bigger. He set his sights on the biggest one of all, Superman. With Harley Quinn's help, he orchestrated his most diabolical plan. He kidnapped Lois Lane, Superman's pregnant wife. He surgically connected a detonator to her heart. The detonator was linked to a nuclear bomb hidden in Metropolis. The Joker doused him with a fear toxin variant laced with kryptonite, warping his mind. He didn't see Joker and Lois. He saw Doomsday. He believed he had to protect his wife and unborn child. He fought with all his might. He flew the monster out of the atmosphere, away from Earth. The hallucination faded. He wasn't holding Doomsday. He was holding Lois, lifeless. As her heart stopped, the trigger activated. Back on Earth, Metropolis was consumed by a nuclear inferno. The Joker had taken everything, his city, his wife, his unborn child. The Joker stood captured, cackling. He'd proven one bad day could break a man. When Superman arrived, he wasn't the hopeful hero anymore. His eyes burned with a cold fury. Ignoring Batman's pleas, Superman decided. He plunged his hand through the Joker's chest. That fatal act was the sound of a god breaking. The death of the Joker was not an end, but a beginning. For Superman, it was a moment of terrible clarity. The old ways had failed. Playing by the rules, showing restraint, hoping for the best. He had the power to stop all crime, all wars, all suffering, and he had been holding back. No more. Standing amidst the radioactive crater that was once Metropolis, he vowed that this would never happen again. He would use his immense power to enforce peace across the globe, whether the world wanted it or not. Superman's first actions were swift and decisive. He flew to the warring nation of Bialya. He confronted its brutal dictator, ordering an immediate ceasefire. When the dictator laughed in his face, Superman used his heat vision to silence him permanently. A shocking display broadcast to the entire world. He announced his new doctrine. All conflicts would cease. He would be the planet's protector, its ruler, its god. The world watched in terror as the Man of Steel began to systematically dismantle every army, confiscate every weapon. This new mission, the One Earth regime, was born from profound pain. Wonder Woman, who had always believed in a more proactive approach, stood firmly by his side. He created a global surveillance network, monitoring every conversation, every action to preemptively stop crime. The world was safer, but it was a peace bought at the price of liberty. Not everyone was willing to bow. The first voice of opposition was Batman. Bruce Wayne believed that no single person, no matter how powerful, should have absolute authority. This disagreement shattered their friendship and set the stage for a devastating civil war. A line was drawn, every metahuman was forced to choose a side. Siding with Superman were Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, Shazam, Hal Jordan. On the other side stood Batman and his insurgency, a small, clandestine resistance movement. Green Arrow, Black Canary, Captain Atom, those who valued freedom above security. Batman used his fortune and strategic genius to wage guerrilla war against a global power. The conflict wasn't just physical, it was deeply personal. These were friends, partners, and family now pitted against each other, fighting a war for the very soul of the planet. The war between the regime and insurgency did not remain cold for long, marked by personal betrayals and tragic turning points. One of the earliest casualties was Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, beaten to death by Superman at the Fortress of Solitude. This brutal act cemented Superman's tyrannical nature and galvanized the insurgency. When the entire Green Lantern Corps arrived to apprehend him for his crimes, a cataclysmic battle ensued. To even the odds, Superman and Sinestro distributed yellow power rings, fueled by fear, to regime members. The universe watched in horror as Hal Jordan, a hero of the Corps, accepted a yellow ring to help Superman maintain order. The battle was devastating, resulting in the death of several Green Lanterns, including the beloved Ganthet. It culminated in Superman dragging Earth's moon out of orbit to crush the Lantern's forces. The Flash grew increasingly disillusioned with Superman's brutal methods, seeing fear in the eyes of people he was supposed to protect. In a crucial moment, Barry chose to defect, providing vital information to Batman's insurgency. Another major turning point came from within Superman's inner circle. Lex Luthor, publicly a staunch regime supporter, was secretly working as a mole. While he pretended to be Superman's loyal right hand, he was funneling resources, intelligence and technology to Batman. Luthor saw Superman not as a rival but as a threat to humanity's potential, believing no alien god should rule over them. The 5-year war was a brutal slog that left deep scars across the globe and the superhero community. The regime's power seemed absolute, having crushed nearly all organized resistance. Batman's insurgency was on its last legs, just a handful of rebels hiding in the shadows, fighting a losing battle. The regime's stormtroopers patrolled the streets, and any hint of rebellion was extinguished with overwhelming force. Hope was a flickering ember, about to be stamped out for good. With his back against the wall, Batman enacted his most audacious plan. Project Sidekick. He had developed a device that could bridge the gap between dimensions. The goal was to bring over counterparts of the Justice League from a universe where Superman was still a hero. They were confronted with a dark mirror of their own world, a place where their friends were dictators and murderers. Their Superman was still the beacon of hope that the Injustice Superman had long ceased to be. This moral clarity gave the insurgency a renewed sense of purpose. The Prime heroes agreed to help Batman's cause. It was no longer just a civil war, it was a multiversal conflict with double the heroes and double the stakes. The arrival of the Prime Justice League tipped the scales, leading to the final climactic battle against the regime. The insurgency, bolstered by powerful new allies, launched an all-out assault on Superman's Fortress of Solitude. The plan was to use a weapon developed by Lex Luthor, a gun that fired concentrated red sun radiation capable of depowering a Kryptonian. Luthor, finally shedding his disguise, donned powerful armor and prepared to face Superman himself. The battle was cataclysmic. For a moment it seemed Luthor might succeed. He held his own against the Man of Steel, his armor and intellect a match for Superman's brute force. However, Superman's rage was boundless. He brutally overpowered Luthor. In a horrifying display broadcast to the world, he murdered his former friend. This act, meant to crush hope, backfired. It revealed to the world the true monster Superman had become. The final confrontation came down to two Supermen. The Prime Superman, symbol of hope, faced off against the Injustice Superman, symbol of absolute power. It was a battle of gods, shaking the very foundations of the Fortress of Solitude. They were evenly matched in strength, but not in spirit. The Injustice Superman fought with rage and grief. The Prime Superman fought with compassion, trying to reason with his fallen counterpart. He was not just fighting to win, he was fighting to save a friend from the darkness. Ultimately, it was the Prime Superman who emerged victorious, defeating his counterpart through unwavering adherence to the ideals they were supposed to represent. With the tyrant finally subdued, the regime's forces surrendered. Their 5-year reign of terror came to an end. The insurgency had won. The fallen Superman was stripped of his powers and imprisoned in a specialized cell, where he could no longer threaten the world. The war was over, but the world was left to pick up the pieces. The world after the fall of the regime was a fragile one. Trust was a rare commodity. Deep beneath the surface, new factions were forming. A secret society of villains led by Gorilla Grodd moved to seize control. A new generation stepped forward. Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, arrived, found by Black Adam and Wonder Woman. They secretly trained her to be a weapon to one day free Superman and restore the regime, rewriting history with Superman as tragic hero and Batman as villain. But the greatest threat was not from Earth. Chaos sent ripples across the cosmos and Brainiac noticed. The Collector of Worlds who destroyed Krypton now set his sights on Earth. He had been monitoring the planet, waiting to strike. Heroes divided and weakened, their protector imprisoned, Earth ripe for collection. Brainiac's arrival forced old enemies toward unthinkable alliances. Survival replaced the fight for freedom. The stage was set for Injustice 2. This is the story of how Paradise was lost, not by an alien invasion, not by a cosmic threat, but by the single terrible act of a madman with a joke. A cautionary tale of how even the greatest heroes can fall, and how the fight for justice never truly ends.